proud of this football team. I believe in this football team, okay, and we're in position to play our best football this season. What these people don't realize is that, like, we expect to win. Look at this dude next to you, man. There's guys next to you. Look at him. There's guys next to you. There's guys behind you. These guys, that guy is counting on you to do your job. He's counting on you to do your job to the best of your ability. We need to play team football, okay? Put Michigan State first. Do everything you can, okay? Go ahead and get this done.
That's the ball game. Michigan State. What a performance here tonight.
That's why I came to Mississippi State, man.
And the underdog. And Mel Tucker does it again, defeating a ranked team on the road.
Like I said before the game, I've never been more proud of a football team. But this was a special group, okay? And what we accomplished today, okay, was something no one expected us to do but us. This is what Spartans are all about, guys. We never quit. Good job, go Green! Go White!
And welcome to another episode of the SD4L show. I'm here today with my co-host Matt Sheehan.
What's up? How we doing?
Locked On Spartans. You know him?
Yeah.
And if you don't, well, that's a shame. That's on you.
No, good for you, actually, if this is your first interaction here. Yeah, I'm not Brian Masalam.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
People have been mean to him online.
Is that right?
Few days, weeks, and he's really taken not kindly to that. So,
that's why he's not here.
He's written down everyone's home address that's spoke illy of him.
He's out on the hunt, out on the prowl.
I can't say that out loud, but he's just not here with us right now. But he called me and said, hey, join the show while I'm running some errands. So.
Yeah. But no, our guy Brian, he's coaching a very important championship game for, I think, 14U, something like that. But whatever it may be, I'm sure that his guys will be blocking well in the trenches. And if not, you'll be sure to hear about that on the show next week.
45 minutes of it.
So, Shane, how are you doing today? It's been as a Spartan fan, I think you can say that it's been a good week.
We are the only school in the Big Ten in the month of November to have a road top 25 win. That's right. Just November games, but you know what they say.
Yeah.
When it gets November, that's when the games really start counting.
That's right.
That's when it matters. It is gut check time, and the Spartans checked some guts last Saturday on the road in Champaign. 17-point underdogs? Please.
Yeah.
Please.
It was a game where even just a few weeks ago, before there was any sort of distractions off the field, before there was any sort of guys missing that were key players, it already looked like a challenging game to begin with. Ryan Walters and that defense, they have been at the top of the rankings all season. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, they had moved into the pole position, and they were not wavering whatsoever. So then you add in the controversy and the adversity, and you're thinking, okay, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
And the opposite of that is what happened.
And now we're smiling on this beautiful Wednesday here. Yeah, it's fantastic. Look, Illinois, that is a strong team. Like, yes, Michigan State looked incredible. Credit to them. But, like, I can't believe it because Illinois gave up 6 touchdowns the entire year leading up to that point. And I get it. No, they play in the Big Ten West. Oh, it's just Illinois. But you could play in the local MHSAA division. If you are going into November giving up just 6 touchdowns, okay, you get a pretty good defense right there. And
100%.
Michigan State got it done. And look, there's a lot of people giving Michigan State flack. I might be one of them, every once in a while. The coaching staff or, decisions made, sometimes we're not a fan of all of them, criticize them, but you got to give credit where credit's due, though, because that job by the coaching staff to get the team ready for that game, and also the leaders on the team as well, of course, which we'll get into in a little bit, like, that was sensational work. Just back up against the wall. You need to win, 3 out of your last 4 games to make a bowl game.
Yeah.
Step one down.
I think that's very well said, especially where people aren't trying to give Illinois credit because they're in the West. You said it perfectly. Even if you are playing some really bad teams, the fact that you have only given up 6 touchdowns speaks to consistency because even against poor schedules, you can't come out and have no clunkers, and that's basically what they've done. It means you're not giving up breakdowns where you're dominating, but you give up an 80-yard touchdown here or there. So it speaks to kind of the sound way they're coached, kind of the veteran leadership. And Illinois is an older team. And then one of the most underrated running backs in the country in Chase Brown.
Sensational.
And on a day where the teams weren't really trying to throw the ball, even though Michigan State came out and ran the air raid, and Jay Johnson was like, "You thought we're going to run it, but we're going to be 50-50." Right. But Illinois, they had no incentive to pass. They were going to run. The weather got them to run even more, and for some reason, Michigan State did not get shredded on the ground. The defensive line, what do you think, Sheehan? They had all these guys out, and look at how they played.
There's no defensive ends anywhere to be seen. They're starting the game with 4 defensive linemen, and this is another thing with hey, you criticize the defensive staff or what have you.
Right.
Look, Scotty Hazelton has gotten a lot of, I can't swear in this program, but he's gotten a lot of it over the last year, even in the last year. But he was given some toothpicks, some chewed up gum, a piece of Scotch tape, and a clothes hanger, and he built the Eiffel Tower out of it on Saturday. That, injuries, suspensions, what have you. Even just, like you said, going up against Chase Brown, who I think is the best running back in the conference personally, but got it done, and decisively so. It didn't even seem like a fluke when you're watching that game. It was oh my God, they have really battened down the hatches. And
good point. I think Michigan State led for 40 minutes and 30-some seconds in that game. As much of a wire-to-wire win as you're probably going to get in this conference. And it's just really impressive because for the first time all year, you can kind of say they truly played complementary football against a Power 5 opponent, because not only did the defense play well, because we can say the defense has played well in the past. The final 8 drives against Maryland, the defense played well. The Michigan game shredded yards-wise, but they gave up 14 less points than Michigan scores per game. At Wisconsin, they gave up 2 touchdowns in regulation where Xavier Henderson was on the field. So the defense has played well in different points, but in all of those points, the offense didn't play well. And when the offense was playing well, the defense wasn't there. So for the first time this year, we saw complementary football, and look at the result that you get.
It was beautiful. And a lot of incredible individual performances as well from both sides of the ball. I thought, Aaron Brule had his best game as a Spartan. Cal Halliday has a lot of really good games as a Spartan, even though he's just a sophomore, but that might have been his best. I mean, you don't win Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week by accident, of course. And then on the other side of the field, too, just the whole unit of the offensive line probably played as good as they have the entire season. Jalen Berger played like a madman on Saturday. That was the best I've seen him play. He was hitting the holes explosive. He was hitting the defenders even more explosively, if that's a word. He was after it. 100 combined yards receiving, rushing, no touchdowns, which is a shame because I thought he was the MVP of the offense on Saturday. It's as good of a game as we've seen him have in a Spartan uniform. And also, got to talk about another guy that's been criticized many a time, and that is QB1 Peyton Thorne. Look, hey, not the season that he probably has wanted so far. And definitely, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess it's not the start to the game he wanted. First play of the game, interception. And, oh, by the way, it's 30-mile-an-hour wind the entire afternoon. Look at these throws that are going on the screen right here. He is dropping dimes, buckets. The feathery touch pass to Trey Mosley for that first touchdown. Putting it in the breadbasket of Jaden Reed for that second touchdown. Are you kidding me on that throw?
Pressure
Look at that.
His face.
In an F5 tornado, he gets it done. So, yes, Peyton Thorne, obviously a guy that is going to have a lot of eyeballs on him. He's the quarterback. That's how it works. But, whoo, boy, got to give him an old tip of the cap right there, Justin.
Absolutely. I think, and going back to Berger, he looked more explosive than he had pretty much in any of the last, 6 or 7 games. I know in week 1 he came out, he was looking more explosive than I ever saw him at Wisconsin. But then kind of the rest of the season, I didn't get that impression again until last game. And one of the most underrated plays of the entire game, when Peyton Thorne threw that ball on a contested 4th and 3 or 4 on the out route to the left side, and he got hit immediately when the ball touched his hands, and he held on. So just a great game from him. And then I also like the way that Jarek Broussard was just intentionally put in certain spots. He didn't have a high amount of touches, but he was used selectively on that one screen that went 20-something yards. Obviously on the touchdown where he showed great burst there. Also on that screen that went for a lot of yards, Gino Vandermark was in the game, I believe, and he was blocking downfield. That was great to see him get in the game. I think he played better than Brian Green, but we will need to, see more of a sample size before we can make any sweeping judgments. But someone I can kind of make an assessment of, Brandon Baldwin played that game in place of Jarrett Horst.
Sure did.
And the overall offensive line performance did not take a step back. I don't think he had spectacular grades in any one area or the other, but in neither of the pass blocking or run blocking areas was he a weakness. And if you would ask me coming into the season that you can go ahead and put a former JUCO player who's one full season into the program suddenly into the starting lineup against the number one defense in college football, and he's not going to look, he's not going to stand out in a bad way, I would take that as a huge win. And just a lot of individual performances like you already touched on, and Jaden Reed as well. Just some solid catches in there. And he was kind of the guy that you were hoping that after Keon had a few marquee games over and over again. I know he had the game against Wisconsin, but you'd like a second game here in conference play where he kind of shows out. So that was great to see. Definitely echo what you said about Cal Halliday. The guy was just a menace in the run defense. He was just plowing through sort of anytime there was an open gap. He was there occupying it. I know the plays where Michigan State lost both of their defensive tackles on, I think, back-to-back plays. He made a stop on third down where he came through the line. He got through the gap before the pulling guard got there, and he just blew up the play.
Cracked him. Yeah.
Just a great showing from him in run blocking. I know a couple of times in the open field they kind of went around him, but that's not his game. That's not really what you're supposed to ask him to do. But with Darius Snow out, unfortunately, he has to, and that's just where we're at right now at this point of the season. But I think all in all, it's just so many solid performances on the field. And like you mentioned earlier in the show, off the field, the leadership that got him prepared for this game.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Incredible, because like back squarely against the wall. Pull out any cliche that you want because all of them are true. And look, this is something that I talked about on my show, Locked On Spartans. That's right.
Go watch that.
It's up to you. It's a free country. There were two roads this team could have taken in that week. And look, even everything that went on last weekend before in Ann Arbor aside, the season still had its challenges that mentally you even have to just get over that, right? You come off a Peach Bowl winning season. This season's not going the way that you want it to. Just that alone, you have enough reason to fold and kind of just be like, oh, okay, well, going on the road. It's November. Let's just ride out the rest of the season. And, keep in mind everything else going on around the program, the suspensions, all the chatter, the hoopla. It would have been easy for them to fold, but, I mean, this speaks to the veteran leadership, the coaching staff. I mean, really every single person in that program to batten down the hatches, get on the right road, the tougher road, and leave Champaign with a victory. For the third straight season in the Mel Tucker era, leaving a road game as an opponent against a top 25 team, but snatching victory from them. That is big time. Really quick, one other key player that we got to point out here. Come on now, Bryce Behringer. Let's go. 5 punts, 4 inside the 20-yard line, an average of just about 50 yards. I mean, what else can you say about it? Like every single week, we hop on microphones and talk about how great this kid is, and that's a leg that man has. That's a leg.
And also Xavier Henderson, we mentioned him as well. He's a guy that he's just one of those senior leaders. He came back his fifth year, I believe, and I had a chance to meet him at Justin Spiro's interview that he did with him a few weeks ago, right before the Michigan game. And just a great ambassador to the program. Keeps his head down, works hard. I believe in the video that came out from after the Michigan game, he was one of the guys that was trying to calm things down, separate everything. Just every sort of turn that you kind of see him, he's kind of the guy that's doing things the right way, leading by example throughout his whole career. I think we're planning to have him on the show here too, with some technical difficulties that we're kind of working through right now, but just a guy that you'll see if we got a chance to talk to him, just how he carries himself and why he's such a leader that speaks to his teammates. But I think, Shannon, that kind of puts a bow on the Illinois game. I don't know if you have any more thoughts, but I think now we kind of can start to look ahead to the path forward to a bowl game. What's in the immediate future? What's there with the Rutgers? Where do you want to take that?
It's very exciting that the bowl game's back on the table. Yeah. Look, hey, before the season, you tell a fan like me, just a slappy like me, that, hey, 6-6 quick lane bowl, I'd be like, okay, all right, really, that's it? But now after the season starts, you have all the injuries, everything going on this season, and then after you leave the game in Ann Arbor, if you said 6-6, quick lane bowls on the table, like, Well, sure. Oh, yeah. Where do I sign? What organ do I have to give up for that game? So,
Right.
yeah, it's very exciting. Just as a fan, someone as meaningless as I am to the program, like I'm fired up. I can't imagine what it must feel like to be a player. That this is, the ship is somewhat righted, so to speak. Like, no, it's not going to be another New Year's Six bowl game, but a bowl game's a bowl game, and all the important things that come with it: program exposure, the extra practices. Especially for a team as young as Michigan State is. You also go back to the 2012 Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. Okay? Not necessarily a marquee bowl game. You found out a lot about your team, though, in that one bowl game. You learned about who Connor Cook was in that bowl game. So, hey, maybe it's Quick Lane. Maybe it's the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Maybe it's the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Hey, a bowl game's a bowl game at this point, so I just don't arrest me for getting a little too pumped up about this.
Those are great points, because when I think of a bowl game, pretty much the only and the main thing that comes to my mind is the extra practices. Like, that is so big when you have a program where you're trying to build depth and you're trying to develop the young guys and have them play sooner. For guys like Malik Spencer, guys like Caleb Coley, who's trying to get healthy and get in the mix. The young defensive lineman that you want playing defensive end here, Zion Young, if he comes back, and Alex Van Sumeren, and these guys that you haven't needed so much right now because you have great D-line depth. Like, all these pieces all over the field, Jeremy Bernard, you want these guys to start getting extra development, and if they can't come into the games because you're not leading by enough or because there's too much at stake right now, when you get those extra weeks of practices, that is huge for a program that's trying to build depth right now. And if you get to go somewhere warm like the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, that's an even bigger bonus. But
here it's beautiful this time of year.
Yeah, it's just great to think about the fact that some of those kids, the young ones, are going to be able to develop. But that path to a bowl game continues this week with Rutgers on the schedule. Michigan State would really need to win this game in order to stay on track for a bowl game trajectory. With this possible win, I think they would have 5 wins, and then you can split the last 2 against Indiana and Penn State and still make a bowl game. I would not count them out of winning both of those games potentially. This year, Penn State has been strong despite losing to Ohio State and Michigan, and it's only been 1 game since the Ohio State loss, but they came out in full force last week. I think they won 45-17. So like they've done in years past, like last year, where they kind of fizzled out right after losing to Ohio State, because honestly, there's not as much to play for when you're out of the Big Ten title, bro. It's just human nature. Yeah. But last year they kind of fizzled out. This year, so far, it doesn't look like they're going to, so we'll see. But those are 2 winnable games, and the Rutgers game obviously would need to happen and go the right way, and then you could be bowl eligible before you even get on the plane to State College.
I know. I do also need to check myself, too, because I am talking about 6 wins like it's a guarantee, but it's not, because let's all remember really quick, still a lot of injuries, still 8 suspended players. It's no guarantee. And also, too, you're facing a Rutgers team that is also hungry for bowl eligibility as well. But with that said, I don't hate the way the schedule's going here.
Right.
So
yeah, and also Indiana. I think Michigan put up 2 or 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make that kind of separated in the score margin, but I believe the first 3 quarters were kind of close, and when I was watching that, I didn't think at any point Michigan was going to lose the game. But I think Michigan was up 7 early in the third quarter, so that's not a team that's very bad or anything where like you expect to come in there, you beat them in the first 2 quarters, you want to play the second half with your backups, anything of that nature. So I think that's kind of the way that I look at the remaining schedule.
Yeah.
We have Xavier Henderson on the phone now here. So there he is. X, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining.
Good. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. My fault, man. This technology nowadays is ridiculous.
Nah, you're good. You got on. That's all that we could ask for. So, yeah, appreciate you joining us, man. You guys have some big wins here under your belt now, and you have some opportunities to pick up a few more this week. What's the vibe been like this past week after going out there, getting a big win, and kind of getting some momentum again?
Yeah, it's just it feels so much better Sunday, and practicing Monday after a win. It's just, I told the guys before practice, like, this feeling is way better than what we were feeling a week ago. Let's put the work in now this week and keep doing what we're doing so that we can feel the same way at this time next week.
Is there a different feeling in the building right now? Is there just more general optimism, or is it just always been business as usual for you guys?
Yeah, I think, honestly, it's been kind of business as usual. Coach Tucker always talks about sticking to a process, and really that's what we've been trying to do all year. And we've seen on film what works, what doesn't work. Got some guys back, obviously. We've really come a long way as a team, so we knew we were building and getting better each week. So it's not like we were, the season's over, this and that. We are always optimistic about every game we've played, but we were able to get a good win this past weekend and look for another one hopefully on Saturday.
Yeah, so X, you guys have had 3 straight seasons now under Mel Tucker where you have gone on the road as significant underdogs and came away with a win by a touchdown or more. How does that happen? When there's a pattern of that nature, it speaks to the process and the approach the program has. So what's the formula behind pulling that off?
Yeah, I think it just starts with, believing, honestly. We don't really go to any game thinking that we're not going to win. And then it just comes down to executing, especially on away games. That was a good atmosphere at Illinois. We had some good showings, and honestly, that comes true, I think, for a lot of our away games. Our fans do a great job traveling, and it always feels good when they're kind of there at the end of the game and the other team's fans are leaving. But I think it just really comes down to executing, watching that film. Every team, nobody's perfect, so it doesn't matter who you're playing. There's some people have a weakness, and it's our job to try to manage that.
And last Saturday, obviously, very exciting game too. Especially, hey, people like us watching from the outside, but you're in the trenches. During that game, was there a moment where you felt it that, okay, this is going to be our team's day here, or was it really not like that until all the clocks hit zeros and you guys were walking off the field?
When I saw the offense really running the ball well, and I think probably when Jaden scored that last, I don't know if it was the last touchdown to get us to 23 on that fade ball, I was like, shoot, knowing how good Illinois' defense was, I was like, shoot, if the offense can move the ball like this and score some points, we're putting ourselves in a really good position, because I felt pretty confident on defense about our play. So I think maybe towards the end when Jaden scored that touchdown, I'm like, we just got to do our job now, and we can win this. We're up. We kind of got them where we want them. So I think probably at that point.
So, X, coming into that game, a lot of, I guess, distractions were on the table. What did you, as one of the senior leaders, because the coaches kept saying this after the game, that the players kind of rallied the troops, and that's how they kind of knew that they were in good hands going into this game. What did you kind of have as your message all week before the Illinois game? With all this other stuff going around, how were you able to be a calming presence, and what was your kind of message all week?
Yeah, well, I've been in positions before where the season kind of wasn't going as we wanted. And, the situation at U of M is a unique situation, an unfortunate situation. But, we're down some guys through the injury and suspension. The season's not really going how we wanted. But, what are we going to do about it? We're at this point, we got some young dudes, but we're kind of most of us are grown men, and some of us are becoming grown men. We got your back against the wall. What are you going to do? And when I was younger, we had dudes like Kari Willis, Kenny Willikis, Raekwon Williams, Joe Bocci. Those guys were just out there playing football. They didn't care what the record was. They just loved to play the game. So I'm like, let's just put it all into it. We already know we got this process that we're going to stick to, but let's just do it for each other right now. And I think our guys really rallied and was able to put on a good performance.
Justin, I'm going to let you in on a secret here. When I grow up, I want to be just like Xavier Henderson. Just a consummate pro leader on the field and off the field. Cool, calm, and collected. Really just the perfect guy to lead a program here. Xavier, where do you get that presence from? Where do you get the leadership from? Is there anyone in your life previously that has really molded you into the great leader that you are today?
Yeah, I appreciate all those nice words.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
I think my parents really just did a really good job raising me, honestly, is the first thing. My dad, and the crazy thing is you can have the best parents in the world, but your kid will still kind of turn out how they will. And I think so. It started with my parents, and then my high school head football coach, Coach Jay Sherritt at Pickerington Central. He was the dude that he brought me up here when I was just a freshman, actually, and I wasn't being recruited. And he kind of molded me into a leader of my high school team. And so I got up here, this and that. I watched the older dudes. And then I thought I was a leader. Then Coach Tucker came in, and he kind of yelled at me and cut into me like no other coach has before, and made me kind of challenge me to step up to be a leader. So it was a process of a lot of different people, my parents, my coaches throughout my career. So a lot of people attribute to that.
So, Xavier, now that you've kind of been through years of seeing different things, different personalities, you yourself have matured. When you look at the younger guys coming through the program, whether it's offense, defense, who's someone that reminds you of yourself? Doesn't necessarily have to be play style. You could say this safety is going to be exactly like me, or just somebody from a personality standpoint. Who's someone that you kind of see a little bit of yourself in?
Yeah, the crazy thing is, Dylan Tatum, honestly. And I say that because when I was a freshman, honestly, I really kind of thought I knew it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of know it all, like this and that. It was hard for me to take coaching. And, that's when Coach Tucker kind of cut into me, this and that, and made me become a better leader. And I see that in Dylan right now, and it's not like so much of a knock on Dylan as like the ability's all there. You know what I mean? He wants to be good. He can be as good as he wants to be. But he's kind of got a stubbornness like I used to have. And I'll tell him that, like, you know what I mean? You kind of do this and that, bro. And I get it. Like, you were all this and all that in high school, but it's a different place now. And Dylan's matured already throughout the year. And you saw him get some snaps in the Wisconsin game. And, that young DB class, that freshman DB class is going to be really good.
And it could be either underclassmen, upperclassmen, but with everything that's gone on this season, whether it be injuries or what have you, very eventful season. Is there a player that has stepped up as a leader that you didn't really see that from before this year even started?
Yeah, I would say KB, Kendall Brooks, honestly. You know what I mean? KB kind of he transferred over here. He was looking to play. He didn't get to play too much last year. And, his role wasn't that big, honestly, going into the season, but it's stay ready. And he's gotten better as the season went on. And I think so it was really me. It was me and Angela at safety, and Chaz started the year at nickel. And then I went down, and KB and Angelo played safety. And then the UM game, we got all of us kind of back, and we put Angelo at nickel and me at safety and KB at safety. And I thought that was kind of the best fit for everybody. So just seeing KB get to step in and, show what he can do, and the coach was saying, he can play, you know what I mean, in these big-time games. And come, not playing as much as he wanted to, but still doing it all for the team, shows a lot of his character.
That's great to hear. We always love those kind of insights because we don't have those if we're not in the locker room in practice every day. So that's really cool to hear. One final fun question for me. When you're getting ready for a game, what's going through your headphones? What are you listening to? What's your rap top 5? Just tell us what you're into music-wise.
Yeah. I always get a lot of people tell me my music taste is terrible. So I really like to listen to a lot of things, honestly. My favorite rapper is Youngboy, and that's usually what I play before the game. I used to really like Lil Baby. I'm not the biggest Baby fan. So I would say like my top 5-ish would be Youngboy. I I love Rod Wave. People hate on Rod Wave. Young Boy Rod Wave. I like Kevin Gates. That's not the most fan favorite. Who else do I listen to? Actually, y'all know how you can do that Apple Music replay? And you can,
yeah.
So it was like 60 hours of Young Boy, 17 hours of Future, and then y'all are going to laugh at this, tied with 17 hours of Adele because her new album I really like.
Oh, we like that.
She had a new album that I really like. Then it was Kodak and Rod Wave.
Okay.
So all those people get the most plays from me.
That's all fair. Only thing I kind of don't like is you were on the right track with Lil Baby, and then how does that just fall off? Like My Turn was album of the year. Lil Baby, you should have set him number one. I would have given you A+. I would have said doesn't matter what anyone else says about your music taste, but I gotta side with them because of that omission. But no, I feel you. Like Rod Wave, Young Boy, like those got to be in there. Those are the essentials these days. Future and Adele. I don't know if anyone's laughing at you for Adele. They just gotta expand their music taste. I know even Drake says that that's one of his inspirations.
Good, man. I appreciate it. What would y'all say if we got the time?
I got Lil Baby, Drake for sure, top 2. I probably got Gunna in there at 3. I used to have J. Cole in there, but he doesn't drop frequently enough to kind of have a spot in there. Growing up, Wayne used to be in my top 2 the whole time. I think Carter 4 is one of my favorite albums ever, but also not dropping as frequently. Meek Mill I really loved up until Dreams Worth More Than Money, but haven't felt the last 2 albums. But I guess I'd say Lil Baby, Gunna, and Drake are like the mainstays in the top 3, and they have been for years. But after that, it's kind of just I'll give anyone a shot. I'm into Roddy Ricch a little bit here and there. Polo G is probably who I'd say is 4th. That's kind of where I'm rocking with those guys.
Should I say Mumford & Sons, or should I just keep that to myself?
I'm not familiar. I feel
like that should just stay inside right now. But Drake is back as far as I'm concerned. New album was incredible. Major distribution. I have the biggest stank face on when I'm
15 out of 17 on that album.
That's a good batting average right there.
Yeah.
We take that all day.
You got one more for X?
I got one more for you, X. So I tried to get some background information, some inside baseball from Darian Harris. Hit him with a message like, hey, what is Xavier like? What are his hobbies? What does he like to do? Just trying to lighten the interview here. And you said, I don't know. So here's my last question for you. Hey, what do you like? What are you doing when you're not on the football field?
Grinding tape.
Grinding tape to listen to Adele. That's right.
Right. So I have like an addictive personality, I feel like. So if I got a video game I'm like, which I'm into 2K right now, it's been a live player, and I spent way too much money than I'm willing to admit on it. Modern Warfare, so me and the guys back home, my guys from home, we'll just get in the party, and they're always on.
Yeah.
So if I'm on a video game, I'm doing that. If I'm watching a TV show, I'm doing that. Like the new Family Guy season's out for some. I'll just get on Hulu and wait for the new Family Guys every Sunday. Other than that, I got a girlfriend and a dog that I spend a lot of time with. I got a little Chow Chow, and she's like my kid, so we spend a lot of time with her and take her out.
That's awesome.
Those are the perfect hobbies.
Love that.
When people get on here and they're like, oh, I go mountain biking and running relays and rock climbing, I'm just like, I can't relate. But dude's over here buying VC just like all of us, hopping on there on Call of Duty, and it's just
double XP weekends for Call of Duty.
Well, X, you very generous with your time. We really appreciate you joining us, and obviously wish you the best of luck this season and beyond. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
You're the man, X. Thank you. What a guy.
You just see kind of the personality he has of just always calm, cool, and collected. I think personally, like when Mel articulates how he wants to be perceived as the even-keeled guy, the never too high, never too low, I think that's a reflection of how Xavier is a player coach in that regard as well. And I think that's how you have those moments against Illinois where backs are against the wall. And you got guys like that.
He really is like an 11th coach on the field. Graham Couch did a great column in the NC State Journal last weekend after the Illinois game, and he got a quote from Aaron Brule. And, this isn't verbatim, but Aaron Brule said, like, you can just turn around and ask, hey, X, what do you got? What am I supposed to do? And if he doesn't know the answer, well, he's at least going to tell you what he's going to do, tell you everything that he knows just in that tight window that you have before the snap is, called. But Yeah, I mean, just all around great Spartan. Already making up the top of my list of like top tier all time favorites. You think of like the Connor Cooks, the Jeremy Langfords, the Kirk Cousins. Like, X has got to be in that short list.
And you've also seen, just even when you get past the intangibles and you just look at kind of the black and white results, the second he's been back, it's been a completely different defense. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And people have said, like on the message boards when I've kind of debated this, they would say, "Oh, well, some of the defensive progress isn't as impressive." I think everyone acknowledges it's impressive, but kind of the caveat everyone adds is, well, they haven't played really a air raid type of an offense. My counter would be, when they got shredded by Minnesota, did they play an air raid offense then?
Thank you.
No.
Right, yeah.
So when you go ahead and play a Wisconsin team that neither Wisconsin or Minnesota have a great quarterback, but Braylon Allen, I'll put him up there with anybody in the Big Ten right now. A great senior offensive line, great tackles on Wisconsin. When you kind of go ahead and then you play Michigan, a team that has Blake Corum, a great offensive line, Joe Moore winning offensive line that swapped out the center for another really good center. Transfer from Virginia. When you have those two run-heavy teams and you have a better scoring output that you hold them to that you did against a Minnesota team that isn't that great, they're good. They're probably going to be competing for the West until the end of the year, but that still shows me progress against a formula that has previously shredded you. Sure, has the Washington formula shredded you worse and more often? Yes. But that doesn't mean that just because you haven't played a team that has played that style, that all of your other progress is kind of thrown aside. Because teams like Minnesota, if Michigan State hadn't shown progress, other teams could have replicated that, and they haven't been able to do so.
Just look at the one hit that he had against Chase Brown that jarred the ball loose.
Right.
Like, I know it's one place, a small sample size possible, but like, look at that play and tell me that his presence doesn't matter to it.
Yeah, and Michigan, the only turnover I think Michigan State caused, it was his fumble.
Exactly. Just great player, great kid. So
yeah. Just jumping back to where we were with Rutgers before we were able to get Xavier on the phone. Just you kind of look at this as an opportunity. Like we were saying, Michigan State could be 5-5 after this weekend. So kind of some of the things that you would like to see out of them in this sort of a setting is you want them to play a clean game that allows them to try to sprinkle some guys in that are younger. I don't think you're going to get to a point where you have a 4-touchdown lead in the third quarter and the whole second team comes in. But ideally what you can do is have enough of a margin where guys can start sprinkling in there, where you can put in maybe a Caleb Coley if he's healthy this game, or Malik Spencer, even if the rest of the DBs are healthy, like guys where you put in spot duty that you haven't been able to much this year. In order to do that, you're going to have to obviously have no turnovers. You're going to have to play clean football. Yep. Ideally, no special teams mistakes. Again, it's been rough with Hank Pepper out and the kicking situation unclear. Both issues happening at the same time have been trouble. But I guess, Shane, is there anything else you're looking forward in this Rutgers game that might allow some comfort going late into the fourth quarter, third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be diplomatic about it. Let's see, how do I word this? Rutgers offense has had their challenges this year, Justin. That was a very nice, mature way of saying that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Look, 29% third down completion for Rutgers. They have the third worst red zone touchdown rate in the conference. And also, plays that go 10-plus yards, fifth worst, not in the Big Ten, in the whole country. In the whole country. They just don't. The offense is really sputtering, and then the new quarterback they've introduced,
Gavin Wimsatt.
43% completion percentage the last 2 games. If you're not a big stat person, let me just tell you, not too inspiring. So the defense, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Suspensions, injuries, they got a lot going against them. But this is an offense where you can probably limit the damage they do. I'm going to knock on wood really quick before we go any further. But, yeah, that's going to be an inspiring list of stats there for Spartan fans going into this game.
I agree. And I think when you look at the fact that Michigan State's defense has played better each week, and also the fact that Scotty Hazelton has gotten more comfortable sending some pressures because guys like Slade and Barrow and these guys are back. I guess we'll see about Slade because he never returned. But you have some of these interior defensive linemen back that when they were gone, when Barrow was gone and when Slade was gone and Hansen and some of these guys were gone, the blitzes weren't getting through with the edge rushers or the interior. Suddenly, with the better defensive tackles on the field, you're starting to see some interior pressure with when you couple with blitzing guys like Brule, guys even from the nickel spot sometimes. They're starting to find some formulas that work with creativity that if Scotty would have called those like 4 weeks ago, and you had your free safety on the other tight end against the Minnesota wide receivers in the slot or against the tight end, the free safety was getting dusted, and no blitz was going to get home in 1 second. So you're able to see him do different things now as they're playing a weaker opponent. So I think that should all spell for Michigan State hopefully having at least a 2-score lead and heading into the middle to late third quarter range. And then hopefully in the fourth quarter you can see patchwork guys coming in here and there, even if they never get a whole second team in there. But I think that's really all there is to talk about when it comes to the Rutgers game. Michigan State has an opportunity, and if you're a Spartan fan, you would hope that they are going to go ahead and take advantage of it. A couple names to keep on in the forefront of your mind against Rutgers. You're looking at safety Christian Isian, 64 tackles for him, 5 forced fumbles. That's 5
big hitter.
Jacoby Windman kind of numbers there. Cornerback Avery Young, 51 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Aaron Cruikshank, he's kind of their gadget receiver that is the do-it-all kind of workhorse for their offense. 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, 34 receptions there.
Bang. I mean, look, you can't put the cart in front of the horse, right? You got to win 2 games for the bowl game. I know I'm talking like, hey, 6 wins is a guarantee, but like, again, this is a defense that does have injury issues. They do have other things going on as well, but man, oh man, it's just really hard not to get excited, because if you could have 2 Big Ten East teams on your schedule at home the next 2 weeks, not to be disrespectful, but it's Rutgers and Indiana.
Yeah.
Like it's them. So it's put up or shut up time, and the road is right there.
Yeah.
You have all the tools to do it. You just got to pave it. So
the opportunity here, if you start to look at, obviously, like you were saying, you can't put the cart before the horse. But if you're one of those people that you want to look at the worst case scenario, sure, they could fizz out. They could miss a bowl game. If you equally want to acknowledge the best case scenario, you have an opportunity here to win 4 games in a row, including the Illinois game. And then I think they can beat Rutgers and Indiana. Penn State will be a tough task, but it's not impossible. You have then put yourself in a position to win 4 games in a row, go into a bowl game, and be an 8-win football team. And if you would have said that was even a blueprint after the first, let's say, month and a half,
please,
nobody would have believed you.
Please.
And then you look at recruiting in December with some slots available in the class, and you already have a basis of a record 8 4-star commits, and you're working on some big fish, you have a chance to have a very different narrative around your football program here in the coming weeks. They just have to go out every single Saturday and do all they can to stack up some W's, and then the opportunity is there to really change the narrative.
It's all about momentum, and what better way to start momentum in November than road win against a top 25 team?
That's right.
Chase with 2 home wins, and then put it in God's hands after that. There we go.
Yeah.
Baby.
And speaking of some good news in the recent days, Michigan State beat Northern Arizona on the hardwood. Very, very impressive win against a really tough. No, can't spin
powerhouse.
That one.
Say it. Say it. Say the P word. Lumberjacks are a powerhouse. Come on.
It's a win that Michigan State obviously needed, and they played as you would expect them to. I don't think they covered, but I think at no point was it a nervous sort of
great
experience. Yeah, it was
awesome.
One of the more. You probably only were sweating for about 50% of the game instead of your usual 110%.
It was very bizarre. Yeah, like my shoulders were dropped for the second half. I wasn't like watching the game like this, like an insane person. Like I belonged in a padded room. It was like, hey, the boys are going to be okay. Yeah, this Cone guy keeps dropping points on Michigan State, but everywhere else, things seem to be going pretty good. And even the Cone thing, like, not necessarily upset about it. Again, he had 20 points on 19 shots or something like that. Like. Okay, the kid's a really good player.
Right.
He was at Virginia Tech for a year before he saw, I actually read this in the story, it was, the Oral Roberts point guard, Abrams, I think his name was. He saw him play, saw how much usage he got at a mid-major, so he transferred to mid-major, being like, I want to be that guy. Well, you get
Max Asmus, are we talking about?
Thank you. God,
March Madness legend.
Butchered that name to oblivion, but yeah.
That's how it's spelled, I believe. You said it how it's spelled.
I'm back on the board. Okay, not a total loss. But yeah, like Zach Cone, like I know that a few people want to be like, oh, their point guard blitzed us. 19 shots. Yeah, that's going to happen. The kid's a really good player. But no, it was a delightful game. Drama-free. It's great. Like, just watching the game with a smile on my face for the second half. No, it was awesome. And a lot of great points that we saw in the game, too, from a lot of different players. Where do you want to start? Because we can name any player and just talk about it for hours.
I think one thing is that Michigan State was never in danger of losing that game and were comfortably ahead, despite the point guards kind of just sitting back and letting the rest of the action unfold. Like, you didn't have A.J. Hogarth going over here, taking the ball to the basket, putting up a strong 14 points and carrying the team. Like, A.J. was just, let me pass the ball, let me make sure other guys make plays, let me relax, and they still went ahead and won a game handily. And then I guess Pierre, Steph Curry Brooks is one of the other sort of observations that I had in the game. Guy couldn't miss, so I think he needs to keep working on his conditioning and continuing to be able to mold his body so he can guard some more athletic guys. But so far, the trajectory is very promising for his career. He's going to have a chance this year to make some plays. I think Joey Hauser comes in looking exactly how Izzo described when he said, I think now we got the Marquette Joey Hauser finally. He looks slimmer, more confident. What are some things that stuck out to you, Matt?
So there's one stat in the box score that I really had circled about Joey Hauser's game, and it's not, any of the points or the rebounds he had in his double-double. It was the number 8, because that's how many three-point shots he took. You know how many games last year he took at least 6 three-point attempts? Do you know how many games last year in the whole season he had at least 6 attempts from three?
I feel like the answer is either 2 or 0.
It's 1.
Oh, fantastic guess.
And it was against Davidson. That's right. Had a pretty good game against Davidson.
Yeah,
now, look, are we expecting 4 of 8 shooting from him every single game? It might say that he should be jacking 8 threes up a game. Not necessarily, no, but...
Maybe. I'm not opposed to that.
Who's to say? You know what? Let's just give it a shot. Just keep on doing it until it stops working.
Yeah.
But, like, the fact that he has the confidence this early in the season to take 8 shots from 3...
Yeah.
I could have started crying. I was like, I feel so good for this kid because, I mean, look, it wasn't just that the shot wasn't really falling last year, but there were some points early last season when confidence was wavering.
Yes.
He was passing up these shots.
Yeah.
But no, it was the green light special on Monday night. So, yes, I mean, there were 2 Joey Hausers we saw last year. There's early season Joey Hauser, late season Joey Hauser, especially with the Davidson game added in. Look, are we expecting 27 points from every single night like that Davidson game? No, but it was very nice to see him start that confidently.
Yeah.
And just what Izzo said. Just
absolutely.
Yep.
I think if you ask me what I want to see out of Joey Hauser, it's shoot so much that eventually coach has to tell you to shoot a little less.
I don't hate that.
And then when you have a confident Hauser in that nature, you also see him playing a little better on defense too.
Yep.
And the offense kind of has some more spacing when they have to step all the way out and guard him. And speaking of shooting a lot of shots, I think you brought this up while we were watching the game live. Akins had some of the highest volume in that game, and the dude was on a pitch count. So that's awesome to see.
Dude's on a pitch count. He goes into halftime with 7 shot attempts. That was the most of any Spartan. Now, did they all fall? No, but am I going to beat the kid up for his first game action of the year off of foot surgery? Absolutely not. Please, because one, I'm somewhat sane, contrary to popular belief. Like I try to keep it cool. Number 2. I'm the conductor of the Jaden Akins hype train, baby.
Right.
So, my boy cannot slander him. No, it was awesome to see him play. And really, if I didn't know anything going into that game, I would have thought, he's normal. Like, he looks himself.
Oh, he looks so healthy. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, I think as someone that watched a lot of Ben Simmons basketball here the last few years, I will never slander anybody for missing shots. I will only slander them for not taking them. And I think if you can get a very aggressive Akins, an aggressive Hauser, and an aggressive Tyson Walker, this team is going to win some games they're not supposed to because they're going to make some threes that they were not making last year. And when you have a point guard that can get those guys the ball when they're hot, I think there's some opportunity here for them to get hot at right moments. Ideally, I guess you would hope that happens in March Madness and these guys hit a lot of threes and win some games they're not supposed to. But even just maybe in the middle of January, they pull off a couple wins against some good teams. They get a higher seed in March than you're expecting. And I think this team has a very high ceiling and a very low floor, depending on a game-by-game basis how the shots are going in. But they have quite a few guys that can make them. Now the question is, do you have quite a few guys that will continue to take them? And I hope the answer is yes. This upcoming week, Michigan State takes on Gonzaga on the aircraft carrier.
They do.
They have an opportunity there to play one of the best teams in the country. they have a chance to showcase themselves in front of a national audience, as they will several times this year with their tough schedule. They're going to play a team that has a lot of guys that are highly recruited. Even some guys on the bench these days, like Hunter Salas, who was a 5-star point guard last year, because they got Nolan Hickman, 5-star point guard this year coming in. You have Rasir Bolton, who's the former Penn State transfer that went to Iowa State that is now at Gonzaga. Just a lot of talent. You got Julian Strother, who's on the bench coming in. Just obviously you got Drew Timme, but what do you see when you look at Gonzaga, Matt?
I see a team with not a lot of holes. That's for sure.
Right.
I know I'm not stating I'm not stating any surprises right now. They are number 2 in the country for the right reason. They play perimeter defense really good. They have a high tempo offense, and that does scare me for this game. They had their opener against North Florida Monday night, just like Michigan State did as well. Went into halftime up 53 to whatever North Florida has. I don't really care how many points they had. The point I'm trying to make is 53 first-half points for Gonzaga. 3 of those came on 1 3-pointer. 50 of them came inside the arc. So it's like, oh, great. So
they got all the scoring.
They got all the scoring done on fast breaks, inside the paint. So in a game like this, on the aircraft carrier, outdoor elements, the forecast when I checked this morning in San Diego on Friday, it's going to be clear, low 60s, but 8-mile-an-hour wind. That's nothing like what we saw in Illinois, last weekend with football, but still, you shoot a ball in 8-mile-an-hour wind. Hey, basketball's a game of inches.
Yeah.
Have you heard that about any other sport ever? But no, really, that could make an impact from outside shooting.
That's a great point.
Gonzaga blitzes teams in the inside, in the paint, on fast breaks, so that's going to make it additionally tough for Michigan State as well. So, my mindset going in here is, if Michigan State loses, great game, great exposure, great experience for these student athletes to be around military, be around their families, see the ultimate sacrifice they make, be around some of the greatest people this country has to offer over a weekend. Veterans Day, very underappreciated day on this nation's calendar. Just that's what it's all about, just how great of an experience this is.
But if they win?
But if they win, Justin. But if they win this game, Justin, this is the biggest deal in the world. We will be celebrating this. We will be screaming this from the mountaintops, and we will be booking tickets to the Final Four at the end of this one. So, yeah, going into this game with the right mindset. If they lose, oh, okay, hey, gimmicky game, do it for the troops. But if they win, you think I'm annoying now? Get ready.
I think that's a great point you had, especially with the stat of Gonzaga doesn't rely on threes, as you just pointed out against North Florida.
Not really.
And if the wind is blowing, and Michigan State's a team where I was just saying how they have a very high floor when the threes are going in.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but and for me, I just my jaw drops when you start talking about wind and shooting outside, because I'm the type of guy that if you're outside, I'm just not making a shot. Because I'm just always blaming the wind when I'm playing indoor basketball.
Oh, amen. Yeah, someone opened the door. There's a draft in there somewhere.
Exactly, yeah.
But, I also go back to the game that was 11 years ago. I almost had a crisis when I saw this, the MSU North Carolina Carrier game with Obama in attendance.
Yeah.
11. I thought it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Michigan State, 2 of 20 from three-point land in that game. North Carolina, 3 of 12 from three-point land in that game. It was a beautiful game, awesome pictures, but the actual game of basketball itself was hideous, horrendous. But the way that Gonzaga plays, honestly, if I'm Gonzaga, I'm trying to play all my games outside this year. I'm trying to play every single game outdoors, but they'll be fine indoors.
They're going to be playing in Evanston every single week on
Right
Navy Pier. Hopefully they're going to have the same wind that CJ Stroud had. They're going to have the Ferris wheel going on full blast, and they're just going to try to have every single shot go.
I know. It's going to be a tough game, too. But, there is one redeeming quality. I was talking with Andy Patton. He hosts Locked On College Basketball.
Yeah.
Also Locked On Zag, so he really knows Gonzaga inside and out. He says that one hole that he's
what do the Locked On guys know?
I'm just trying to be a company man, shill for as many Locked On products as I can here. But he said that one thing that he's a little worried about is, hey, Drew Timme, awesome player on the inside. And yes, Gonzaga is littered with awesome talent, but not really any physical post presence. They've Efton Reed, he's a transfer, fouled out in 12 minutes in their first game against North Florida. He's really the only physically imposing guy they have. But with that said, it's not like Michigan State is littered with front court talent as well. But maybe this is the time to showcase.
Yeah.
Maybe that little over-the-right shoulder 4-foot jumper from Mady Sissoko is a thing this year.
Yeah.
This is a lot to ask for from a true freshman. Even if he was an All-American freshman. Jackson Kohler, maybe this is a game where he gets some damage done.
Yeah.
But,
If it's not a team that has a physical imposition, why not?
Yeah, slash to the lane, get to the hoop. I mean, A.J. Hogarth, if he can get past that, I mean, way easier said than done, that steel trap perimeter defense against Gonzaga, hey, when he gets to the hoop, guy's pretty good. So.
Yes, Owen.
What are your non-conference, obviously non-conference, very hard tons of performance like Gonzaga, Villanova, Notre Dame, etc. What's a good expectation for Michigan State fans, like win-wise?
Right. I think the best expectation for Michigan State coming out of this non-conference schedule is winning some of those games where you get to play a Villanova team that might not have Cam Whitmore, who's dealing with a foot injury, I believe, where you're playing an Alabama team that's not a top 10 team, and then you just look competitive against Gonzaga. If you beat Gonzaga, then really it kind of redefines the expectations, and then I take back most of what I'm saying. But I think right now, being competitive in that game, being competitive in the Champions Classic, and then winning some of the more winnable non-conference games like Alabama and Villanova, and I think that's where you can probably say that was a solid outcome to the slate. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, like I don't want to say like 2 wins, like because I got 5 right in front of me. I got the Gonzaga game, Kentucky, Nova, Bama, Notre Dame. Like I don't want to say like 2. 2 and 3 just doesn't sound good rolling off the tongue, does it?
Right.
But,
like,
But then that is a tough murderer's row of teams.
Right.
Now, one thing that I will point out, I was on Bart Torvik earlier today. When I beat the hell out of this website when the winter comes
Pure
around.
basketball knowledge.
It's my homepage. Their expected spread for the Kentucky game is only Kentucky by 2. Like that is a game that's going to be a lot closer to the computers than it may be to like me or you, or maybe you watching at home because, guy by the name of Oscar Sheboy might be ready to play that game.
Or might not.
I know.
I'm kind of starting to think that he might not because every time you hear Coach Cal talk about an update, it's not what he not promised, but it's not what he kind of alluded to would be happening when he last spoke. Like, he would say, I think he'll be good in a week. And then fast forward a week, and, he's progressing. Fast forward another 3 or 4 days. He should be practicing soon.
Is he doing a Kevin Willard, though? You know,
maybe.
Because I'm just forever scarred by
Miles
that.
Powell went off.
Yeah, he just dropped another 3-pointer on Michigan State when you just said that sentence.
From 30 feet away.
He said that Miles Powell is getting a bone saw to his ankle. He will never walk again the rest of his life. And then within 12 hours, he's just lighting up Michigan State. It's like, so no, I know this happened, I think 3 years ago now at this point. I think it was 2019 when that happened. That's going to take 10 more years for me to get over. Even though MSU won that game. It was the Malik Hall game. They won that game. But I just can't take any basketball coach seriously after Kevin Willard pulled that stunt. Like, guys, quite frankly, I don't know if Miles is going to make it. We might be putting him out the pasture. Like, I don't know. This could be it for him. We just had a priest in to read his last rites. And then, oh, great. He's playing 30 minutes a game. And so I don't trust him.
Went from rewriting his will and testament to rewriting the history books just in a span of 30 minutes. But our last topic before we get to Owen's 360, sticking with basketball here, Michigan State today signed a historic recruiting class.
God, I love these kids.
And you see right there a picture of the class, part 2. I think that's what the streets are calling it. You are looking at 5-star Xavier Booker. You're looking at 3 4-stars then in Cohen Carr and Garrick Normand and the floor general, Jeremy Fears. I guess kind of the first thing that you think about when this class comes to mind, I guess for me at least, the first thing I think of is how all of these kids fit together like a puzzle.
Yes.
It's not any sort of overlapping qualities out of any of these. It's you have the ball distributing floor general at the point guard, who's the leader, who's the recruiting heart and soul of this class. He's the one that deserves as much credit as the staff in getting Xavier Booker.
Yep.
He would hit him up every day in a group chat that he had. So you got the leader, you got the ball distributor right there. Then you have Garrick Normand, who's small forward, shooting guard, based interchangeable positions these days, but he's a knockdown shooter that has a little more physicality than he's given credit for. He can guard the 2 or the 3. Then you have Cohen Carr, who can guard the 3 or the 4. Probably one of the most athletic guys Coach Izzo has ever landed, can jump out of the gym. He's a hard-nosed defender. Probably needs to work on his dribbling and his shooting a little bit, but he's going to be able to come in right away and play because of his defense and his athleticism and rebounding. Then you have Xavier Booker. I think he's a little more raw than people might think when they just look at the fact that he's Izzo's highest-ranked commit ever. Because if he was in Jaren Jackson's class, I believe he would have been behind where Jaren was. But that's kind of a mold. Jaren was ahead defensively, but I think Xavier might be ahead with a shooting stroke compared to Jaren. So I hope people don't have crazy high expectations and then berate him if he's not coming in averaging 20 and 10. But the kid is ranked that high for a reason, oozing with potential. Yep. He's going to play in the NBA most likely. So that's my rundown of what they're getting pieces-wise. Matt, what do you think of when you think of this class?
Couldn't have said it any better myself, top to bottom. But overall, dogs. DAWGS. These guys are all dogs. Booker, look, just physically imposing, right? 6'10", 7'2" wingspan. Okay, like his physicality screams. If you're going up against him. Jeremy Fears, like you said, I mean, just what a leader off the court too. Even before he's even taken a dribble in East Lansing, recruiting this class. Cohen Carr looks like he wants to murder every single basketball rim that he plays on. Like, if you have not seen a highlight tape of this kid, go treat yourself to a YouTube search of Cohen Carr. This man is absolutely positively vicious. And also Garrick Norman, too. I mean, you know what I love about his game, actually? It's the laziest comparison to make, to compare him to Matt McQuaid, because, they're both shooting forwards from Texas.
Yeah.
But, like, they are carbon copies of one another. What I like about Garrick, too.
Yeah.
He's a little chippy on the court. He's a little chippy on the court. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a little bit of arrogance to him.
Yeah.
But, hey, when you play as good as Garrick Norman does, I love that arrogance. He can also jump out the gym, it looks like. All four of these guys are incredible. And also a fun little stat, too, that I dug up before getting into the studio. This is 4 top 75 rated commits per 24/7 Sports.
Yep.
The Big Ten as a whole has 12 top 75 rated commits. Michigan State has 4 of them. They have 33% of those kids. So, yes, what a recruiting class.
Yeah.
This gets you a big leg up. Nationally, it doesn't hurt to have the number 3 rated class, but also just in your own conference.
Right.
Whew, that is a nice haul for Tom Izzo, who I thought his recruiting chops were dead, Justin. Were those exagenerated? Is that not true?
I think the rumors of his demise were greatly exaggerated. I think he has shown that not only in 2023, 24, but 25, 26, I think there's a window here. And Owen, do you want to put up the graphic there? I think I tweeted this out earlier today, kind of a spreadsheet looking rough thing I did while I was supposed to be working. We're looking at what Michigan State has down the road here. Oh, you're good. But, so it's basically just my last tweet on Twitter right now. It's what Michigan State's starting lineup and their depth could look like in 2023-24. You have a senior A.J. Hoggard back. You have obviously Trey Holloman then as a sophomore. Those are kind of your guards that are returning. Then you add Jeremy Fierce to the mix. You have a lot of athleticism and defensive prowess in the guard spots. Jaden Akins, obviously, as well. And this is with Tyson Walker. We're assuming not using his COVID year. He might.
He could, though.
Yeah, he could.
He could.
He has. I think he spent a year of doing post-grad after high school, so he might be a little older. So I don't know. We'll see. But we have some interesting options all over the court. Then you look at Cohen Carr being able to guard multiple positions. You have Garrick that could guard the 2 or the 3. You have Pierre Brooks, who's going to be even better by then. At the 4, it's if Malik Carr doesn't come back, you have
Hall.
You have Booker actually that can play. Oh yeah, Hall. Sorry, yeah.
A lot of cars going on.
Yeah. You have that's where I think Xavier Booker would play, just because I don't know if Jackson Kohler or Madi Sissoko can't, but I don't know if those guys can guard the 4.
Gotcha.
So if you're going to put labels and designations on it, I think Booker would be guarding the opposing 4. And then at center, you have 3 guys that are coming back. You're going to have Madi, you're going to have Jackson, you're going to have Cooper, all those guys that have potential that are going to be older. You just have a very complete roster. And each of these new guys, not only do they fit like a puzzle amongst themselves, but also with the returning players. And then my last thought on just the recruiting class here, you are going to be really impressed if you start diving deep into the way this class was brought together. You have somebody like Cohen Cohen Carr and actually like Garrick Norman, where they didn't even have offers until they visited. And they committed to Michigan State within a week of visiting. Then on the other side, you have someone like Xavier Booker, where you had to recruit him for 11 months from the day he was offered to land him against Blue Bloods. Jeremy Fears kind of closer towards Xavier Booker's recruitment with the length, maybe not as many Blue Bloods, but you have all these different blueprints and formulas of the way these recruitments went, and Izzo landed all of them in a different way, but the central theme was the family feel that people felt in the program. I'm going to have an article dropping tomorrow with quotes from Garrick Norman's mom, Xavier Booker's trainers and coaches. It kind of takes you behind the scenes of how Izzo landed these guys and just looks at the class as a whole. It's going to be a free article on 24/7. I was going to publish it with The Athletic, but I kind of wanted it to be free. I wanted everyone to kind of get a peek into what Izzo was able to do here and his assistant. So that's all for me. Matt, any more thoughts on the recruiting class?
Man of the people. No, I was just laughing when you were talking about Booker guarding the 4. Like, imagine you're a 4 in the Big Ten. You're hey, I'm excited to play Michigan State, and then, oh, great, this 6'10" guy with a 7'2" wingspan's marking me the entire game. Awesome. I might as well just go back on the bus. Sick. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Well, that's a good way to encapsulate kind of the talent Michigan State will have here, and then we'll send it over to Owen to tell us what's happening around the East Lansing streets.
Yeah, a lot of winning going on right now in MSU Sports. It's time for Owen's 360 MSU Sports Weekly Update. Let's dive right into it. Start with women's basketball. They started off their season as well. They took down Delaware State 86-37. By Gabby Elliott's 13 points and 6 rebounds. Mo Joyner also returned to action and made threes beyond the arc. We go to MSU hockey. Oh, great weekend for MSU hockey. They took down Wisconsin on Friday, winning 5-0. Eric Vinendorf, he went into that game with no goals. He ended up scoring 4 by the end of the night. That was a phenomenal performance for them. And then on Saturday, MSU won 5-1. Miroslav Luka, Jagger Joshua, as well as Tanner Kelly, Cole Krieger, and Tiernan Shality all scored for Michigan State as well. And that one, Dylan St. Cyr, he was fantastic. Michigan State has finally found their goaltender. He picked up the first shutout of the season for him. And then on Saturday, he had 44 saves. So the entire weekend, he only let in 1 goal. It was a Big Ten strong week, as well as Eric Middendorf. Now over to MSU soccer. Apparently we're a women's soccer school as well now. MSU took down 2-1 thanks to a goal from Cameron Evans to advance to their first ever Big Ten tournament championship game. Set the single season program win record. MSU, but then fell to Penn State 3-2 in a hard-fought game. But make sure, go support your Michigan State Spartans. They play Milwaukee in the NCAA tournament at the Martin Field on Friday at 6 p.m. Make sure you're there. MSU, for men's soccer, their season is over. They fell to OSU 1-0. And Owen Vinnerty, he had 5 saves. While over to volleyball, MSU fell to number 14 Purdue, 3-1, and number 6 OSU 3-0. Thanks for watching Owen's 360 MSU Sports Weekly Update. Make sure go support women's soccer, hockey as well. Ohio State. MSU hockey, they looked a lot better this weekend. Adam Nightingale is doing big things for the Michigan State Spartans.
Great stuff, Owen. You got all the teams across campus covered. It's great to get that update at the end of every show.
Owen's the best.
Yeah.
Just the best.
Yep. Great producer. And that does it for this week's episode of the SD4L show. It's great to be joined by the legendary Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans. Go listen to him there. Go follow him on Twitter. One of the best Twitter accounts out there.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, he did. I saw that new picture. You never posted on Instagram, did you?
No, no, I didn't.
I'll send you some little baby captions and then.
Could you? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
All
or
right.
anyone that you and Xavier were talking about would be awesome.
For sure. We'll get you hip, for sure. And that does it for this week's episode of the SD4L show. That's Matt Sheehan. I'm Justin Thin. Our producer, Owen Oszust. Thanks, guys, for joining, and we'll be back.
Please close your eyes.